So, when you hear the name Albert Einstein, what's the first thing that pops in your head? The crazy hair, right? The Nobel Prize? E equals mc squared? Well, today, we're going to peel back that caricature and get to the real story. And it's a story of failure, of rebellion, and of a mind that literally reshaped our reality.
Okay, so let's get right into it. You see this face, and your brain just screams genius. It's become a synonym for it. But what if I told you that the man behind this myth was actually a late talker, that he really struggled in school, and that he was a total rebel who couldn't stand authority? And I'm not kidding, this might sound wild, but the man who would one day redefine the entire cosmos, well, as a kid, he had a tough time just forming simple sentences. He was actually 9 years old before he could speak fluently. 9!
And his troubles with school didn't stop there. He actually failed his first college entrance exam. I mean, can you imagine that? The future father of modern physics basically flunking out before he even gets in the door. Talk about a rough start.
So you have to be wondering, right? What was the turning point? How does that kid become the icon we all know today? Well, it all kicked off with a really simple question about a forest that he couldn't even see.
Just picture this for a second. He's 5 years old, sick in bed, and his dad gives him a simple magnetic compass. And he is just mesmerized by it. He can't get over it. What is this invisible power that makes the needle always point north, no matter which way he turns it? That single question, it lit a fire in his mind that honestly would burn for the rest of his life.
And here's something you probably don't know about Einstein. The guy was a seriously passionate violinist. He even said once that if he hadn't become a scientist, he would have been a musician. For him, you see, physics and music were like two sides of the very same coin. They were both a search for the deep beauty and harmony in the universe.
Okay, now let's fast forward a bit to 1905. Einstein can't get a teaching job anywhere, so he's stuck working as a patent clerk, a humble patent clerk. So he's spending his days reviewing these pretty mundane inventions. And in his spare time, he's just, quietly rewriting the fundamental laws of physics. As you do. In one single, mind-blowing year, he publishes 4 papers. 4. And these papers will go on to completely change the course of human history. They lay the groundwork for pretty much everything, from nuclear power all the way to the GPS that's in your pocket right now.
Let's just zero in on one of these ideas to really get a sense of his genius. For centuries, every scientist on Earth knew that light traveled in waves. It was just a fact. But Einstein, with his usual audacity, comes along and dares to ask a different question. What if it's something more?
He came up with this idea that light isn't just a wave, it's also made of tiny little packets of energy. You can think of them like tiny bullets of light. Now, this idea was so radical, so out there, it's what he eventually won the Nobel Prize for. Not relativity, this.
And this, right here, is the essence of his genius. He wasn't just solving a little physics problem. He was, like, peeling back a layer of reality to show us this secret hidden world underneath everything. The world of quantum mechanics, a world we are still trying to figure out today.
And here is the absolutely wild part. You might be thinking, okay, cool, tiny light bullets, what does that have to do with me? Well, it's the reason you can watch this right now. The smartphone you're holding, the solar panels on roofs, GPS, lasers, the entire fabric of our digital world is built on the quantum revolution that Einstein helped kickstart.
And then, as if all that wasn't enough for 1 year, in his final paper of 1905, he just casually dropped this, the most famous equation in history, an equation that contains both the secret of how stars shine and the terrible power to destroy worlds.
So almost overnight, the obscure patent clerk becomes a global superstar. But that fame, it was a really heavy crown to wear, especially as the world started marching towards war.
And this is where the story gets incredibly complicated and, frankly, pretty tragic. Einstein was a devoted pacifist. He thought war was a disease, but he found himself in an impossible spot. He was absolutely terrified that the Nazis were trying to build an atomic bomb. So he signed a letter urging the US to build one first, and it was a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life.
I mean, his fame was so huge, he was so respected, that he was actually offered the presidency of Israel in 1952. The presidency! He politely turned it down, though, saying very humbly that he was a man of science, not politics. He knew what he was good at.
So after all that, what is the final legacy of this extraordinary, complicated man? Well, believe it or not, the story doesn't even end when he dies. In fact, it gets even weirder.
This is one of the most bizarre twists in scientific history. The pathologist who performed Einstein's autopsy just stole his brain. He took it without permission and kept it in a jar for decades, hoping he could find the physical secret to genius. Spoiler alert, he never did.
But maybe that doctor was just looking in the wrong place. Einstein himself had a much simpler answer. He once said, "I have no special talents, I am only passionately curious." It was never about the physical brain, it was always about that fire inside.
And so that kind of leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? Maybe true genius isn't something you're born with, some special wiring in your head. Maybe it's just about asking questions, about challenging the way things are, and about never ever losing your sense of wonder.